I'm Alex Sims alongside Scott Barboza and Brendan Holland. We are here from ESPN Boston High School, and we thought we'd give you guys a little inside look at what's to come for the football season. Now, guys, after 40 years, the MIAA has gone away with the traditional Super Bowl and has gone to the champions, 6 statewide divisions. What's expected to come for the upcoming season? Brendan?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with scheduling. I think one thing I look at is Everett and how they weren't really tested for a number of weeks leading into the Super Bowl, and then they survived the thriller against Barnstable. They still have their GBL schedule to work with before they go into the playoffs. Will they be battle-tested enough to make another big run, because they lost quite a bit of talent? And I think you're going to see some interesting scheduling going on now. The big three, obviously, Brockton never seems to struggle finding an opponent, but you see Barnstable loading up. They got BC High and Zavarian on the schedule. The trick is with those leagues, those three-team leagues who don't have a big league schedules, how they will set themselves up with a schedule to be tested enough but still be able to contend and get one of those top 8 spots in the power rankings.
Scott, what does that mean for the state?
It's going to be a great year. I think this is really exciting because finally it's really going to incorporate the entire state. On Super Bowl Saturday, we're not going to have 19 games spread out all over the state. We're going to be in one location. We're going to have the 12 best teams in the state at that time going for an actual championship trophy, which is great. And then on top of that, if you want to go back on that, you know, tradition still means something. League championships still mean something. You'll still be able to represent your district as a champion. I think this fulfills a lot of things that people had reservations about coming into this process. And ultimately, I think it's going to make the game better. Some of those, non-league rivalries that we've seen develop in recent years, talk about Everett with, Springfield Central perhaps. You could see those potential matchups down the line. I think that's going to make the game better, being able to see that talent in this state exist throughout.
Now, Brendan, pretty leveled playing field this year. What teams can we look for that could possibly really step up to the plate?
Yeah, I'm looking to D2. I think D2 South is an absolute gauntlet. Mansfield, King, Phillip. Natick, though, I think is a team to watch there. The air raid offense there. Troy Flutie, one of the more dramatic, exciting players to watch in the state. At quarterback, Brian Dunlap, the best receiver in the state. Justin Robertson, Alex Hilger. That's a dynamic passing offense. That might be the best passing offense in the state this year. I'm also going to look elsewhere in D2, out to West. Springfield Central is going to be the favorite out there. A number of athletes. Valdemar Brower has really built that program into a top 10 echelon program. Cody Williams, his cousin Jawan Williams, Daquan Clemens, Sean Lee, and Kenneth Marshall, the linebacker, they're pretty high on. That's a really dynamic team. But then Leominster, too. Dave Palazzi, I've gone on record saying he's one of the best play callers in the state. His offense is so dynamic. The question is going to be at quarterback, who fills that role. There's been rumors that maybe Neil O'Connor steps into that role, but do you take him out of an athlete position for that? A number of athletes, Mason Williams, Ed Rivera, Jarrell Otto, the gem of the bunch, I think. That's going to be a real exciting team to watch.
Now, the Mr. Football Award, it comes out at the end of every season. Any top contenders? I know it's still early, but any athlete in particular that you have in mind?
I think you got to start at Jonathan Thomas, obviously the Maryland committed running back from St. John's Prep. You'll obviously have to throw Troy Flutie, the BC commit of Flutie fame, I guess you could say, in that as well. I would also put one of his receivers, though, Brian Dunlap. I think bar none best receiver in the state the last couple of years here coming in. He's really I think a big part of Flutie's success, and they're really a symbiotic team there. I think there are some dark horse, players that we could look at too, though, that might not be, household names yet, but could fill the build as well.
Yeah, I think one of those guys we mentioned about dark horses, and he's gotten a lot of attention. He's a lineman. We don't see linemen too often in contention for Mr. Football, but how about John Baker from Millis? The kid is a beast. He's one of the top line prospects in the Northeast, committed to BC. We saw him last year. He made our all-state team as a D lineman, controlled A-gap to A-gap. You really had to scheme for this kid, going into a game, or he's going to take your kid on roller skates. I mean, he's just a dynamic kid, dynamic player. In my opinion, the best lineman in the state.
Any guys under the radar that we have to touch upon here, Scott?
A couple kids started at quarterback. Drew Belcher, a kid that's been very consistent for Reading the last couple of years. Obviously, more of a running-based attack there, but a kid that is obviously fits the mold of a quarterback. You see when you see him on the field, has a great presence. A couple kids down south. Want to take a look at Dave Harrison, a kid at Weymouth that was very impressive to me last year. Kind of a do-it-all in that offense for Kevin Mack, and will be under center, will be in the backfield, can play in the slot. Just a real true athlete that can do a lot of things to help a football team.
I think too. You have to look outside of the 495 loop there. Again, I'm going to go to Jarrell Otto there. I don't think people realize this kid is 6'2", lanky, violent, downhill free safety. At a combine 2 months ago down in New York, 42-inch vertical leap. There's NBA players that don't have a 42-inch vertical leap. I think you have to look at some of those intangibles he has and figure he's got a high ceiling. Also, Tom Roderick from Leicester has been getting some attention recently. UMass offered him earlier this month. 6'3", 220 pounds, just a physical specimen. Made close to 100 tackles last year, 14 sacks as a linebacker. He's also a terrific blocking back as a fullback. He's going to be a prospect that's going to be rising on the radar next couple of months.
Now, we've talked about some key players here, some dark horses, but this season in particular, a lot of recruiting going on. Now, can we just touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah, there's been quite a lot of recruiting activity as opposed to years past. For me, in my opinion, it started when Wisconsin picked up Jakari Washington from Everett, seemingly off a scrap heap, even though he's one of the most dynamic players in the state. 2 weeks before signing day, and he wasn't really on anyone's radar, but they realized, well, this kid is an athlete. And now you start seeing schools coming around like they haven't in the past. BC. Under Steve Adazio, new coaching staff, they've really treated the state like they're the flagship state university. They've got 7 in-state commits, which is a bit different from what they had in the past. And really, it's from non-traditional pipelines. No Everett kids, no Brockton kids, but some dynamic athletes there. Isaac Yidam. We mentioned Troy Flutie. Also, John Baker, obviously. Connor Strahan. Kevin Bletzer from CM, the most recent of those commits. So it's gonna be, time will tell how that plays out. But I think what that's done to the other schools in the area, UConn, UMass, who want to recruit in this area, they've gotten a little bit more creative. Not that they've surrendered those guys, but they're starting to dig for some guys that are diamonds in the rough, maybe. We mentioned about Tom Roderick getting the offer from UMass, Jarrell Otto. The Springfield area kids, Cody Williams has an offer from Monmouth right now, but he could be rising in a little bit. So you're going to see a lot more colleges coming through here. Your alma mater, Syracuse, there, they're starting to throw their hand in the dish a little bit.
Thanks for mentioning.
So, this is a lot of fun watching, a lot more attention than years past. Just perspective, on average, we get about 10 Division I FBS signees every signing day. We've already got 8, the 7 BC kids plus Johnny Thomas to Maryland. And we're not done yet. We still got a number of players to wrap up here. So very fun watching this offseason.
All right, let's go. Bold predictions.
Oh, boy. I'm going to knock your socks off here, kids, so brace yourself. I'm taking a look at Lowell, actually, a team that I've seen coming for a couple years here. I'm going to predict that they get to a Super Bowl game, which is going to be a real gauntlet coming out of Eastern Mass, obviously. But this is a program that I've seen building for a couple of years here. I think a couple of years back when they were going toe-to-toe with Chelmsford, really the anointed MVC champion, and they gave them the best flow. And this is a team of athletes. It's a city rife with athletes. I think they're there for the picking. It's a program headed in the right direction. Yes, they get some big shoes to fill. Cam Latta, the quarterback, departing, obviously, to graduation. But get ready for this team. They're going to be in a state championship game.
Do you agree with that?
Look, they're a good team. I'm not ready to go out there. Not when you play in the same division not when you're ready to go in the same division as St. John's Prep and Everett. I think that's just too much to ask. But I'm going to say this. Since Dave Palazzi took over at Leominster in 2011, he's 4-0 against John Andrioli, coach of the St. John's Pioneers. They opened week 1 at Doyle Field. We've talked about St. John's and their offense. Their defense was atrocious last year, let's be fair. Okay, you don't give up 39 points to Milford. You don't give up 50 to Shrewsbury. Davon Jones had nearly 100 tackles of free safety. He's obviously one of the best players in the state, in my opinion. But really, you can't get any worse than last year. They're going to improve the defense, but also they run that unique, that Oregon style, the blur offense. They kind of picked it up from Amherst College. And as you've watched Chip Kelly evolve that offense at Oregon the last couple of years, So too will St. John's. I think they're going to see a few new ripples in the running game. I think you'll see the flashcards incorporated a little bit more. That's just I'm going blindly into this thing. But I think they're going to evolve and they're going to learn from last year's mistakes. And there were a lot of mistakes. And I think if they don't win that game in week 1, I think it's inevitable these two teams meet in the playoffs, and I think they'll win that matchup.
All right, well, I'm Alex Sims alongside Scott Barboza and Brendan Hall. For more information, log on to ESPN Boston.